Assalamu alaikum. My name is Alvina Imran and my group member is Salia Manur, and our topic for today's presentation is mediator pattern. Now, what is mediator pattern? In software engineering, usually it is considered to be a behavior pattern due to which it makes our programming running behavior better. So in this presentation, we will introduce the mediator pattern, motivation statement, problems that were in the object-oriented systems, and what was the solution that was given through mediator patterns. We will show you the coding and implementation of mediator pattern and real-life examples, and the end summary. So now what is mediator pattern? Mediator pattern defines an object mediator that encapsulates how a set of objects interacts. It is a behavior pattern, as I have told you. So mediator pattern is basically an object that encloses how the objects of classes communicate through each other. For example, in this picture we can clearly see that there are three classes of colleague 1, 2 and 3, and there is one mediator, centralized mediator of all these three classes. So this mediator allows these objects to communicate through each other, and it is loosely coupled. So it usually makes our loosely coupled. It makes the communication system better. It promotes loose coupling by preventing objects from referring to each other explicitly. As we know, in object-oriented systems, objects used to communicate through each other directly. But in mediator pattern, objects communicate through each other through a single mediator. Moving on, what was the motivation? The mediator pattern, it reduces complex dependencies between interacting objects by making them centralized, improve code maintainability and flexibility. A mediator pattern promotes loose coupling by keeping objects from referring to each other explicitly. It lets you vary interaction independently. So when objects are no longer communicating directly with each other and instead communicate through a mediator, it reduces the dependency between communicating objects. Thus it reduces the coupling of the objects. For example, in this diagram we see that there are four objects with have some attributes, and there is one mediator, phone dialog director, which is widget of a dialog box. So if a change in code may affect change the classes as well. Moving on, problems in object oriented systems. As one of the problems I told you is that object oriented programming, object communicate through each other directly, but other problems are complex dependencies and interaction between objects, tight coupling that makes the system difficult to maintain, difficult in modifying an extended system due to direct communication between objects. So in this example, we have the picture over here. We see that HR class is dependent on the employee class. It creates instance of employee in its constructor and in list employees method. The HR's class role is to be managing employees objects. So the HR class is managing employee objects and also creating them. So this dual responsibility implies that the HR class is highly dependent on the employee class. Therefore, if anything that changes in the employee class, for example, if a new field constructor is added, the HR class would directly be affected, and there will be obviously a need of some modifications. In this situation, there will be many errors that will occur in our code. So this is such a problematic dependency, as we all can see. So this is one of the main problems in object-oriented systems that was modified and solved by mediator pattern. As we can see that this code is very challenging to maintain and modify, but if we make a mediator pattern, for example, that a single object that encloses all the attributes of HR class and employer class, then the HR class will communicate through employee by using that mediator object. So that's how we can solve the problem of mediator. That's how we encapsulate our objects interaction.
Hey, I am Saleha and I'm gonna elaborate you about the solutions of the problems Alvina told you. Okay, the main idea behind the mediator pattern is to introduce a mediator object that manages communication between other objects. This helps reduce the complexity of dependencies among objects. The mediator pattern encapsulates the interaction logic and making individual objects less dependent on each other. Now, what is the basic analogy here? The effective analogy to understand the mediator pattern is comparing it with an traffic air controller, air traffic controller, you can say. In this analogy, airplanes do not communicate directly with each other, but through the air traffic controllers. This ensures coordinated and safe interactions. Okay, let's move ahead. Here is an implementation of the code. Okay, according to this code, uh, mediator interface are used. The chat mediator interface defines a contractor for sending messages. It has single method send message which takes string message and a user sender. Its main purpose basically is this interface basically allows different concrete implementations of mediators that can handle message passing in different ways. So here class is also used. Chat room is concrete implementation of chat mediator interface. It maintains a list of users. Okay, and add user method is used over here, uh, which adds user to the chat room, and send message method is used here. This method basically implements the mediator logic to broadcast a message to all users except the sender. It iterates through the list of the users and calls receive messages on users exception the one who sent the message. Okay, and let's go ahead. Okay, this is also another implementation example. Here in this code, constructor, here the constructor is given. Constructor initializes an empty array colleagues to keep the track of all registered colleagues. Register method is used over here, which adds colleague to colleagues array, sets the mediator to colleague of the colleague to this instance of the mediator, and send method is used over here. Send method is used over here, which takes the message and colleagues sending the message iterates over all registered colleagues. It ensures that the message is not sent back to the sender and calls the receive method of each colleague with the message. Okay, and now, so an instance of the mediator is created over here, and three colleagues, Alice, Bob, and Charlie, are instantiated. Each colleague is registered with the mediator using a register method. Alice sends a message, "Hello everyone." The mediator handles broadcasting this message to Bob and Charlie. So let's get to another slide, real life examples. Okay, the first one is UI frameworks. In UI frameworks, various widgets, buttons, text fields interact through a mediator. For example, in dialog box, when a button is clicked, the mediator updates other component like text fields without telling them directly referencing with each other. Okay, after that, the next example is chat applications. In chat applications, messages are routed through central server. The server acts as a mediator, managing the communication between the users and ensuring messages that are delivered correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, let's get to the benefits of the mediator pattern. The first one is it reduces dependencies. The mediator pattern decouples classes and reduces direct dependencies between them. These objects communicate through the mediator rather than directly with each other. The next one is simplifies maintenance. It simplifies maintenance and modification of the system by centralizing communication logic in the mediator, and changes in how the object interacts can be made in one place. The last one is improve code readability. The pattern improves code readability by centralizing complex communication logic within the mediator. This makes the overall system easier to understand and manage. By following these mediator patterns, developers can design systems that are easier to maintain, extend, and understand. This pattern is particularly useful in scenarios with complex object interaction and dependencies. So that's all from our side. Thank you so much.